Okay, let's get started here. Just a little background on this project. I was approached last year at festival by somebody to turn this out of wedding rings. I hadn't done it before. You know, how hard can it be? What am I getting into? So I did a little research. I bought a whole bunch of stuff, not knowing I only had about a 3-week turnaround of when they needed them. I figured that's all I need is something to go wrong and not be able to get them to them what they needed. I was fortunate in that it was secondary wedding rings and not the only wedding ring. But when they approached me, wanted to be a surprise to her fiance. So I found out when I finished them, I asked her, is it going to be a surprise before the wedding, during the wedding, or after the wedding? She says, during. So I have had no contact with her. I really don't know how it went. They're out in Colorado somewhere. But
yeah.
Anyway, to get started, I purchased basically all my stuff from craft supplies. It was quick and easy. There's a lot of different places out there to get the cores. These are actually put on either stainless or titanium ring core that is sized to your finger. So you pick the size, you build the ring around it, and then finish it up. So to get started, I'm just going to do a piece of Purdue. I take and do like in cuts off a spindle piece. These are 1.25 or 2 inches square. And by just doing an in cut, working everything through the center, it does give you grain pattern all the way around the ring. I suppose you could set them up and cut them out of something flat, but then you're also going to have nice grain top and bottom and in grain on the sides. I've not tried anything that way, but that would be a way to do it. Now, to get started with them, what I'm going to do is I just come up with it's almost like a jam chuck. Then I'm going to tape the ring core to and actually put a rough hole in it, and then I'll make it fit from there. I know some of the instructions say just to go at it with a skew, and that's going to be good enough. I get rid of as much material as I can. I'm just going to use, let's see what size I pick. I'm just going to use a Forstner bit. I'm just going to use a Forstner bit to get rid of the bulk of it. So what I have here on the jam chuck, this is just a piece of really hard oak. So I can actually bore into it. It doesn't really change the shape. It's a nice flat surface. This is two-sided Turner's tape. It's a little spongy. It's a cloth tape. And I'll tell you, once you get it stuck on there, it holds like crazy. I've done platters, 12-inch platters just on a faceplate, and had to go get a hammer and chisel to get them off. So I've got centered. I do have one true side I hit on a disc sander. So I'm going to take...
Hey, can somebody turn off the lights?
It's a switch right there.
Yeah, all right. You see okay up there? All right. So after I got that center on there, with this tape, they do want you to put lots of pressure on it. So generally, if I'm going to use a two-sided tape like this, I'm going to bring the tailstock up, hold it on as long as I can. By the time I get that rounded off, oh, no. Basically, they do suggest you use a stabilized blank. I've done it without, and since I'm not really set up to stabilize right now, on some of the looser, the more open grain woods, I will just drizzle a thin CA, because it's a thin grain, from both sides. Let it soak down into the wood. So I guess it's kind of a self way of stabilizing if you don't have the equipment. I've had everything stay together with the exception of one piece that came apart on me when I was actually preparing for this. It's been a while since I've done, so I figured I better run through the steps again. And I actually tried to do a little cutting with the hole already in there, so it's a thin edge, and I just annihilated it. So Before I put that hole in there, I'm going to get it to kind of a rough ring size. I think that will work. So right now I'm just going to make it round. And I'm also going to kind of give it a rough thickness. I don't want to be turning that much off once it's actually cut out and the core is put in. I'm going to leave myself about a 16th on each side to flush back up after I insert the cord. So that's going to be kind of my rough shape. Now the easiest way I found to actually get these started is to just take a Forstner bit and take it right on through. Being that this is ingrain oak, it pretty much tells me when I go through. I think I've probably done 3 or 4 rings on that and I haven't even had to resurface it. You can pretty much do a window through everything. So now comes the fun part.
What's the diameter of the bit you use?
You know, I don't even know. It's just smaller than the actual ring core. I just put them on top, try to find the one that I'm going to have to remove the least amount of material. So in this case, it's I think it's a size 8 ring. I have somewhere around a 3/4 inch bit.
Ken, it looks in the video like it has a crack. You just put C8 glue in that? Right there.
Does have a little crack in it. You know what? I'm going to bail on this one, because I don't think it will stay together. Yeah. It's the first time I've tried to do a piece of Padauk.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more open.
Tom's what the scene is for, right?
This is a piece of tire wood.
Check the cracks first.
Well, right now I don't see any. I didn't see the other one either. All right, now we're right back up to where we were. So now I have to hollow it out, try to keep everything as square as I can. And really all I'm going to do it is use a square axe tool. Get in there, especially with the hard block. It does pretty much tell me if I'm veering off, cutting an angle. And then it's just a lot of trial and error. Hopefully less on the error. I'm not really measuring the depth, I'm just using the squareness of the ruler, bottoming it out, letting me know whether I'm cutting square or not. And one thing I found real quick was, as many times as you move your tool rest out of the way to get in there, it was really nice to put a stop collar on there so I'm not playing with the height every time. So just set the stop collar.
Now you have to get it out.
Dividers, inside dividers.
So how tight a fit are you making that?
That is perfectly snug. I'm going to give it just a hair more and then call it good enough.
Okay.
Just like that. Okay. So, now, certain shadows back here. I'm going to put that in with just a thick CA. I have not to date had anything come back apart on me, so I think we're getting there good enough. I know some of them, the instructions will tell you to use a 2-part epoxy. Just like if you ever done pens, you kind of want to scratch up the brass tubes. We do the same thing with that core. This is a stainless core. Craft Supplies is still in stainless and titanium cores. There are other things out there available. They just started with a 2-part core where it's kind of like the bangle bracelets. I have a couple. I have not turned one yet. I didn't really want to do it here for the first time, so. And let's see. Okay, it'll be a little messy. Make sure you get just really good coverage. Stick that in and push it down just past center. Once it's in there, and really what I'm looking for is make sure I have no gaps. I do have a little bit of squeeze out all the way around, so that tells me I got some pretty good coverage in there. At this point too, if I have excess glue, I will go through and clean it off. I'm just finding that being that they're stainless, it's a clean metal surface. You can just take a shop towel, something that has a little texture to it, work around inside there. It'll remove most of the glue. Sometimes you have to get in there with something a little bit sharp and chip it off, but it does come off. So if you have if you're a little bit messy, you're probably okay. All right, so now to reposition that and turn it, there are a couple different things. There's actually a ring mandrel out there now with different step sizes. I think it's an expansion chuck so you can hold it in place. I got started just on a pen mandrel with bushings to fit the ring. The bushings come in 3 different sizes based on what size ring you're doing. And it's just a tapered bushing, so it's going to be a kind of a self-centering piece. And I got too much material there. I'm going to swap blanks because normally what I like to do at this point is I'll take them to a sander and sand them down as close to the core as I can. I really had a little too much material there, so it's not allowing me to get my bushing back onto the actual ring core. There we go. And these are just filler bushings, so I can get it a little further away from the headstock. They're not, they're just old pen bushings, what they are. So using the mangle saber. I really think this is about the toughest part, is to get that size back down to the core itself without either leaving too much to sand off later or actually getting into that ring core. When I'm doing this, I always leave quite a bit of extra material just to give it the stability. Okay, we got one side. Now, since I turned better from that direction, I'm actually going to turn the ring around. Centers up there pretty good. kind of looking for somewhere around 1 millimeter in thickness. Maybe a little heavier than that. So,
Was that a stabilized piece of wood?
this was one of those self-stabilized pieces that I just drizzled CA down through. I had a friend stabilize some for me, and I don't know exactly what happened. I haven't had a place, time to play around with it, but it didn't seem like it set up like it should have. So I'm just going to reshape it with a couple little coarser bits of sandpaper and then go through the sanding process. And I just sanded that back up to about 1,500. For the air compressor. Okay. So now we just will, it's all sanded up, it's the right shape that I want. We can start on the finishing process. And I'm just going to use the 2 different thicknesses of CA, a thin and a medium. And I'm also going to try to get as much glue as I can into the little bit of ink that's left, just to make sure we seal it up as best we can. And when you're doing something this small, a little bit of glue on the rag goes a long ways, so you really be careful. If you try flooding it, it will really streak on you, kind of fall up on the sides. Thin. I really kind of use the thin as a sealer more than anything else. I want it to penetrate in wherever it will. It will just help the durability of the finish.
You do the same with the pen?
Pretty much, yep. If it's a really, really closed grain, I usually go right to medium. some white sand there. The other thing you can use to clean those up is denatured alcohol, just a little bit on a soft rag, but allow plenty of drying time in between. Denatured alcohol flashes off pretty quick, so there's not generally a problem, but I have pushed it and got stuff trapped underneath and it bubbled on me a little bit, clouded. Now, one thing you do really want to be careful, and this is with any type of CA finish. Notice I sprayed from a long ways back. I have had issues with certain brands of CA that have a lot more pressure behind them and actually have displaced that wet glue. It puddles out. So, as far as types of glue and or accelerator, it's not so much the different brands for their quality of the glue integrity. It's I've found the consistencies I like to work with, as far as like the aerosols, how much spray it actually has, how much pressure. And some of that stuff just, even though it dries fast, it will not dry quick enough. And two, when I apply, I always keep support outside of where the glue goes on my towel, so I can actually get kind of a key of where I am and then slowly move the rag with the glue into the piece, controlling how much I'm actually putting on. Even though I have a drop of glue and I'm putting that whole thing on, I'm kind of inching it on, so to speak. So it just helps keep it from flying all over and keeps up from puddling on your project. Kind of lost track how many coats I've actually put on there, but I think we're good. A couple more, just for good measure. I'm just top sanding the glue with like 800. It's just a silicone carbide paper. Just to help take off any real light, any of the high spots before I start with the micro mesh.
Have you tried using Zona paper yet? Have you tried using the Zona paper yet? Or
Not familiar with it.
I guess it's relatively new.
Okay.
They say it's better than the micro mesh.
Oh. Available where?
A lot of different places. You can get it through like Turner's Warehouse, Amazon.
Okay. Zona?
Yeah.
Z-O-N-K.
What's that? I'm impressed you can color code them.
Well, I'm used to enough that I do remember the colors, but the newer packs, they changed some of the colors, so I had to think a little harder. Now, one thing that I did not bring with me, I thought I put half my shop in these two boxes, but at this point, I would just use a plastic polish. Anything for acrylic pens or whatever, just to help bring out the rest of that shine before I stick it on the buffing wheel. So now it's actually, where's the camera? Actually, it's a pretty good shine to it as it is, but we still have a little bit of glue residue on the edge. So that's the 800 paper on a nice flat surface. Also, if you have micro mesh that's not backed, some of that, it's usually different shades of gray. And all I'm doing is taking any excess of glue residue that may be still on there off. And then the last step is to bring in the buffing wheel. This is a compound that they use just for the plastics. I like it on the CA glues, it just helps finish it off.
That white diamond fountain? That white diamond shit?
I'm sorry,
It's some plastic polishing.
Oh, okay, those
No, it's a Blue Rouge. To be honest with you, I really don't even know what it is. It's supposedly formulated for acrylics. Yeah. Nice buff finger too. And that is basically the process. Let's see if the light's off on that. Is there any question? Yeah.
No, I was just
Oh,
adjusting the camera.
All
Sir.
right. Well, if there's no questions, that does conclude the demo.